Debate on Heritage Day, celebrating 30 years of unity in diversity.
Opening the Heritage Day debate in the 7th Parliament was Arts and Culture Minister and Patriotic Alliance leader Gayton McKenzie. He reflected on how it was never imaginable that peace would be achieved with the release of Nelson Mandela.
We have achieved the miracle. The world still uses us as an example when they speak about people who has put their country above hate and prejudice. The world still speak about us when they speak about people who put their country above everything else in order to attain peace and reach the promised land. We are one nation under God. We are the children of Nelson Mandela. It is not Uhuru yet, but we will get there. Those that died for our freedom will smile today because their death was not in vain.
The official opposition had mixed sentiments about heritage.
South Africa's tumultuous history is steeped in profound injustices, greed, and the scramble for land. There are significant proportions of our population who were marginalized, stripped of their dignity, and plundered by a minority, a reality which we face even as we speak today. Over the past 30 years, heritage has been dedicated to honoring the rich tapestry of cultures, traditions, and histories that Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela tried to weave to form a new nation and an identity away from its painful past, and is supposed to be a day of remembrance and celebration. But unfortunately, it's a day of sorrow.
The EFF says unity cannot exist until racism is addressed.
There can't be unity whilst racism continues unabated, whereby a white farmer can murder black people and feed their human remains to pigs. There can't be peace in a country where crime has escalated to high levels, allowing extortion even from a poor grandmother who sells fat cakes in the streets. There can't be hope whilst the Tinsalo graduates stand up at crossroads in their gowns begging for food, clothes, and jobs.
From remembering the late IFP leader to recognizing the gains that were made to achieve freedom, MPs expressed themselves.
This month will always be a bittersweet month for the Inkatha Freedom Party, as it marks a year since the passing of our great statesman, founder and President Emeritus uMntwana wakwaPhindangene. We were privileged to take lessons from his rich well of culture and traditions. We take pride in learning from his teachings of Ubuntu, which we base our lives on as an African nation and political party.
Today, as we celebrate our heritage, we must remember that it was not only a gift from above, but the result of men and women who worked incredibly hard and dedicated their lives so that our cultural diversity can be celebrated.
Today we debate in this Heritage Day debate the topic of celebrating 30 years of unity in diversity. Nou, dit is nie die eerste keer nie, dit is vir 30 jaar wat ons hierdie debat voer en dat ons hierdie goeders met mekaar gesels. En ek het vandag baie aandagtig geluister na die sprekers van verskillende partye voor my. Ek het geluister na die ANC se spreker, die honorable Gagabo. Ek het geluister na die MK se spreker, agbare Manji. Ek het geluister na die DA se Masango. Ek het geluister na die EFF se Mthethwa en na die ander ook. Nou die interessante vir my is, deur na hulle te luister oortuig my, ons is nie nader aan mekaar as wat ons was 30 jaar gelede nie, ons is verder weg van mekaar.
The debate also triggered the realities of safety for women, equality and the recreation of new identities.
What we've done in the last 30 years is to dishonor those that came before us. We have a more unequal society today. We have a country that is not safe. Women are worse off today in terms of their personal safety and their lives than ever before.
The UDM, however, suggests that we celebrate Heritage Month with a consideration that there are some critical issues surrounding our heritage. For instance, when looking back at the past 30 years, what is said is that South African people have been relegated to being tourists of their own heritage.
The meaning of heritage and being a South African over the last 3 decades was touched on.
How should we define ourselves as a people? What is the South African consciousness? And what is it that should unite us as a people? In many ways, Heritage Day is connected to our nation-building efforts. The task of building a nation is never completed in one generation.
Heritage Day exists to bring South Africa together and to make us one nation. This is a day that was meant to celebrate a shared heritage, but also to encourage us to build a shared heritage into the future. But we must be honest, South Africa, we haven't built a shared heritage. For 30 years, the government has failed to capitalize on the goodwill of South Africans in building a united and equal South Africa. I grew up in the 80s, and like it was then, it still is now, that we have multiple South Africas.
The Social Development Deputy Minister and Al Jama leader touched on the importance of the theme of this year's debate.
Honourable Chair, the theme for 2024 Heritage Month is commendable, as it gives recognition to those who laid down their lives and went to prison to defend their land. The Department of Social Development will have an engagement with the villages of Kufumvaba on International Day for the Eradication of Poverty on the 7th of October as part of Social Development Month. We are going to ask the villages what needs to be done immediately and thereafter to take them out of poverty.
The Bella Bill and colored identity entered the debate.
We are also linguistically diverse people with 12 official languages, including the recognition of the South African Sign Language as the 12th official language. It is in this spirit that we support the signing of the Bella Bill into the law by President Cyril Ramaphosa in its provisions to support our linguistic diversity and promote multilingualism in our education system.
We've had the discussion about identity, history, and dignity, but very few people have touched on the issue of the colored people. The people whose identity was stolen and whose land is still being sold off to this day by people who form part of the GNU. We don't speak about this. We don't speak about the fact that the first indigenous people still have not had their royalty recognized by this House 30 years into the new dispensation.
The Government of National Unity and Christianity were not left out in the debate.
It's only a government of national unity in diversity that can ensure we remain global political champions of non-racialism. Even if we win with only this one political point, history shall still consider the GNU as the ones in the 7th administration who were progressive.
And for those of us who are followers of Jesus Christ, we need to build and continue building our nation, because we are called to minister love, forgiveness, and reconciliation.
Closing the debate was Social Development Deputy Minister.
The theme was deliberately adopted to call to prompt the nation to reflect to the significance of celebrating 30 years of our freedom and acknowledge the sacrifices by our heroes and heroines. In identifying this year's theme, the department considered the preamble of the Constitution, which enjoins us to recognize the injustices of our past and honors those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land.
The 2024 Heritage Day celebration is expected to be commemorated in the Free State. Mercedes Besant, SABC News, Parliament.